The golden chandeliers of Mar-a-Lago gleamed under the Florida sun, casting a regal glow over the sprawling estate. Donald J. Trump sat in his private lounge, sipping Diet Coke, his eyes glued to the television. The screen flickered between news anchors, their once polished voices now trembling with panic. Reports confirm that a violent outbreak has spread across major U.S. cities. Officials are urging static. Then chaos. The footage cut to a scene of Miami's Ocean Drive, where bodies littered the streets. A man, bloodied and snarling, lunged at a police officer. The officer fired, but the creature kept coming. Then, the unthinkable. The cop was torn apart on live television. Trump squinted. Unbelievable. Disgraceful. This is what happens when you let weak leadership take over. A panicked knock at the door snapped him from his thoughts. Corey Lewandowski, his former campaign manager turned personal security consultant, barged in. His face was pale. "Sir, we have a situation." "I can see that," Trump said, gesturing at the TV. Lewandowski shook his head. "It's worse. The outbreak's spreading fast. Miami's gone. Palm Beach is next. We need to secure the mansion. Now." Outside, the palm trees swayed in the ocean breeze, blissfully unaware of the horror creeping closer. Trump set his drink down. "All right. First things first, lock down Mar-a-Lago. No one in or out." Lewandowski hesitated. "That includes the staff, sir. Some of them might have family out there." Trump leaned forward. "Corey, let me tell you something. We are in a war. A tremendous war. And in war, you don't let emotions run the show. We have walls, we have resources, and we're going to win. But only if we control the situation." A shout from outside made them both turn. A Secret Service agent, stationed by the main gates, was yelling into his radio. Behind him, a small group of people, bloodied and wild-eyed, were banging against the iron gates, their fingers clawing at the bars. "Help us. Please," one of them cried. Then, one man in a business suit convulsed, his body twitching unnaturally. His eyes glazed over, and with a guttural growl, he lunged at a woman beside him. Screams rang out. The Secret Service agents drew their guns. Pop, pop, pop. Blood splattered against the gates. The lifeless bodies slumped to the ground, but more were coming. Dozens. Then hundreds. Trump frowned. "That's a big crowd. Almost as big as my rallies. Sad, really." Lewandowski turned to the security team. "Get the remaining staff inside. Seal every entrance. We're officially in lockdown." The grand doors of Mar-a-Lago slammed shut. Inside, the remaining staff huddled in the ornate ballroom, fear etched across their faces. Some wept quietly. Others whispered prayers. Trump took center stage. "Folks, listen up. We're in a crisis, but you're in the safest place in America. This mansion is the best, the absolute best. It's got strong walls, top-tier security, and more food than most people eat in a lifetime. We are going to be fine." A maid raised her hand. "What about our families out there?" Trump sighed. "Tough situation. But if we start opening doors, we might as well invite the zombies in for dinner." Murmurs of unease rippled through the crowd. Lewandowski stepped in. "Sir, we need to act fast. If the horde grows, we'll be overrun." Trump nodded. "All right, here's the plan. We need to reinforce the walls, stockpile supplies, in." A loud crash echoed from the east wing. An agent's voice crackled over the radio. "We have a breach." Trump's expression darkened. "Well, that's just fantastic." The security team sprinted toward the sound, weapons raised. Trump followed, his heart pounding, not in fear, but in sheer frustration. This was his house, his fortress. And no army, living or dead, was going to take it from him. As he reached the east wing, the stench of rotting flesh filled the air. The doors had been broken open. And in the dimly lit hallway, something moved. Something hungry. The smell of decay hung thick in the air. Trump wrinkled his nose as he peered into the dimly lit hallway. Shadows danced against the gilded wallpaper, but the true horror lurked just beyond. Then, movement. A shambling figure staggered forward. The thing had once been a man, maybe one of his staff. Now, its suit was tattered, its flesh peeling away in sickly chunks. Blood dripped from its cracked lips as it let out a low, hungry groan. Trump took a step back. Unbelievable. Disgraceful. This guy used to work for me, and look at him now, completely falling apart. Lewandowski shoved a pistol into Trump's hand. Sir, we have to take it down. Trump narrowed his eyes at the gun. I don't do the dirty work, Corey. That's what I have people for. Before Lewandowski could respond, one of the Secret Service agents took action. Bang! A bullet slammed into the zombie's chest. It barely flinched. Bang! Another shot, this time to the head. The creature staggered before collapsing to the marble floor. Silence. Then the radio crackled to life. Sir, we've got multiple breaches across the property. We need to act fast. Trump ran a hand through his unmistakable hair. All right, listen up. We're gonna do what I do best, we're gonna build a wall. A tremendous wall. Mar-a-Lago is already great, but we're going to make it even greater. Lewandowski was already barking orders. Barricade all entrances. Reinforce the windows. If you're armed, take position along the perimeter. The staff scrambled to action. Some hauled furniture to block doors, while others hammered nails into plywood, sealing off vulnerable points. One of the security team members ran up to Trump. Sir, we've got a problem. The eastern gate is compromised. We can't hold it much longer. Trump scoffed. Of course, it's the east. Always a problem with the east. Before anyone could question the comment, a series of guttural groans echoed from outside. Trump, Lewandowski, and the others rushed to the mansion's surveillance monitors. The security cameras flickered with static before revealing the outside perimeter. Dozens, no, hundreds, of the undead swarmed the outer gates, clawing at the iron bars. Some were missing limbs, others dragged themselves along the ground, their milky eyes fixed on the grand estate. Trump frowned. This is worse than the fake news media. Lewandowski turned to the guards. We have to reinforce that gate now or we're done for. The team grabbed whatever they could, barbed wire, steel beams, even decorative statues, and sprinted toward the eastern wall. Trump stayed behind, watching the monitors. His mind worked fast. He wasn't just thinking about survival, he was thinking about strategy. This wasn't just about protecting Mar-a-Lago. This was about reclaiming control. He turned to a group of survivors, mostly former staff. All right, folks. If we want to make it through this, we have to be smart. We can't just sit and wait like some kind of low-energy operation. We need organization. A woman, one of the chefs, crossed her arms. And what's your plan, sir? Trump smirked. We're going to run this like a business. We divide into departments. Security handles defense. Logistics makes sure we have food and water. Communications, he gestured to a radio operator, keeps us in the loop. And me? I'm the CEO of surviving. A murmur ran through the group. It wasn't the worst plan. In fact, it kind of made sense. Lewandowski's voice crackled over the radio. Mr. President, we're losing control of the East Gate. Trump grabbed the radio. Then do what I always do, make a deal. Lewandowski's voice was laced with frustration. Sir, you can't negotiate with zombies. Trump sighed. See, that's the problem with you guys. No imagination. If you can't outfight them, outthink them. His eyes flickered to the security monitors again. A few miles down the road, another estate, belonging to a former hedge fund billionaire, sat abandoned. More importantly, it had walls. Big ones. Trump grinned. I think it's time for a little real estate expansion. Lewandowski, out of breath, returned to the room. We barely held them off, but it won't last. We need more defenses. Trump clapped a hand on his shoulder. Corey, my friend. We're not just defending anymore. We're acquiring. Lewandowski blinked. What are you talking about? Trump jabbed a finger at the screen. That mansion over there? We take it. We expand our borders. It's Manifest Destiny, but better. The survivors exchanged nervous glances. Was he serious? Was he insane? But as the undead swarmed the gates, as their own supplies dwindled, one thing became clear. If they stayed in one place too long, they were doomed. Trump smirked. Pack your bags, folks. We're about to close the biggest deal of our lives. The plan was set. Mar-a-Lago had held for now, but Trump knew better than to sit back and wait for disaster. If there was one thing he had learned over the years, it was that survival, like business, favored those who expanded their territory. We move at dawn, Trump announced, standing at the head of the mansion's grand dining hall, now converted into a war room. A large map of Palm Beach was spread across the table, marked with red circles around key locations. That estate over there, big walls, great location, probably still stocked with supplies. We take it, and we make Mar-a-Lago even greater. Lewandowski nodded, but his face was tight with concern. Sir, the problem isn't just getting there. We don't know if it's already occupied. Trump waved a hand dismissively. Look, Corey, if someone's already there, we do what I always do, make a deal. And if they don't want to make a deal, well, he tapped the side of his head. We out-negotiate them. The survivors, mostly his remaining security detail and staff, looked at each other, some nodding, others uncertain. But while Trump had them focused on expansion, one man in the room was thinking about something else entirely. Jared Whitmore. A former Mar-a-Lago property manager, Jared had been with the estate for years. But unlike the rest, he wasn't interested in following Trump's grand plans. He had his own ideas, ones that didn't involve waiting around for the mansion to turn into a death trap. That night, while the others reinforced barricades and packed supplies for the morning mission, Jared moved through the halls with careful steps. He made his way toward the back entrance, the service door leading to the staff parking lot. The gate was still intact, but it wouldn't be for long. The undead were relentless, and sooner or later, the mansion would fall. He wasn't going to wait for that to happen. Glancing over his shoulder, he pulled out a small duffel bag, already stuffed with food, bottled water, and one of the few remaining firearms. If he moved fast, he could sneak out, find a smaller, safer place to hide. Maybe even get out of Palm Beach altogether. But as he reached for the lock, click. A gun cocked behind him. Going somewhere, Jared? Jared froze, his heart hammering in his chest. He turned slowly to see Lewandowski, standing with his pistol aimed at his chest. Jared forced a smile. Hey, Corey. I was just, checking the perimeter. Lewandowski narrowed his eyes. With a bag full of food and a stolen gun? Jared sighed. Look, man. We both know how this ends. We can't hold Mar-a-Lago forever. Trump thinks we can just expand, but what happens when we run out of places to take? What happens when the undead get too many? I'm getting out before that happens. Lewandowski tightened his grip on the gun. You're abandoning us. I'm surviving, Jared hissed. You should come with me. We can slip out before anyone notices. Lewandowski hesitated. The thought had crossed his mind more than once. Trump had pulled off a lot of impossible wins in his time, but this wasn't a debate stage, and it wasn't an election. This was life and death. Before he could respond, the radio on Lewandowski's hip crackled. This is Johnson. East Gate is compromised. We have a breach. Both men whipped their heads toward the sound. A distant but unmistakable moaning rose from the eastern perimeter. Jared cursed. They're getting in. Lewandowski grabbed his radio. Trump. We have movement at the east gate. Trump's voice came back almost instantly. Not on my watch. I want every available man down there now. Jared used the moment of distraction to act. With a desperate shove, he knocked Lewandowski's gun aside and took off running. Lewandowski recovered fast. Jared, stop. But it was too late. Jared sprinted toward the back exit, shoving the door open, and ran straight into the waiting arms of the undead. For a moment, time slowed. Jared's eyes widened as the first rotting corpse lunged at him, its hands clamping onto his shoulders. Then, all at once, more swarmed him. He let out a blood-curdling scream. Lewandowski watched in horror as Jared was pulled to the ground, his body disappearing beneath a mass of gnashing teeth and clawing hands. He had opened the door. And now the zombies were pouring in. Lewandowski slammed the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. Then he grabbed his radio. Mr. President. We have an internal breach. Trump's voice snapped back. Handle it. Lewandowski gritted his teeth. They were running out of time. Grabbing his gun, he sprinted back toward the main hall, where Trump was already standing, flanked by armed guards. Trump pointed at him. Tell me the good news, Corey. Lewandowski took a breath. Jared tried to escape. He got himself killed. But he left the back entrance wide open. We've got an internal breach. Trump's face darkened. I knew there'd be backstabbers. You can never trust the people who aren't winners. Lewandowski swallowed. Sir, this means the zombies are inside. We might not be able to hold Mar-a-Lago anymore. For the first time, Trump was silent. Then, after a long pause, he straightened his suit jacket. Then we're taking that other mansion tonight. He turned to his guards. Gentlemen, pack your things. We're moving. The fight for survival wasn't over. It was just getting started. The halls of Mar-a-Lago echoed with chaos. The undead had broken through the eastern gate, spilling into the estate like a tide of rot and hunger. Gunfire rattled through the night as the remaining security detail fought to hold them back, but it was clear Mar-a-Lago was lost. Trump stood in the center of the grand hall, his trademark scowl set deep as he surveyed the situation. Lewandowski wiped sweat from his brow, gripping his rifle tightly. Sir, we have to move now. Lewandowski shouted over the noise. The eastern wing is completely overrun. If we wait any longer, we're dead. Trump straightened his tie. We're not dead. We're making a strategic relocation. Very smart. Very necessary. Nobody relocates better than me. One of the guards ran in, panting. Sir. The motorcade is ready, but we have to go now before they cut off the exit. Trump nodded. All right, everyone. Pack up, get in the cars, and let's make a deal with survival. The remaining survivors, staff members, guards, and a few loyalists who had stuck with him, rushed toward the garage. Outside, the moans of the undead grew louder. The convoy consisted of 3 armored SUVs and a stretch limousine that had seen better days. The plan was simple: plow through the horde, make it to the abandoned billionaire's estate a few miles down the road, and fortify it. But nothing ever went according to plan. As they neared the vehicles, the first wave of zombies appeared, dozens of them staggering out from the tree line, blocking the driveway. Trump scoffed. Pathetic. Slow. Weak. If I had zombies, they'd be the best zombies, fast, efficient. These? No work ethic. Lewandowski ignored the comment. Sir, we'll have to shoot our way through. The guards opened fire, dropping several of the undead, but more kept coming. One of the drivers, a young agent named Miller, threw open the door to the lead SUV. Everyone in. We don't have time. Trump made a beeline for the limousine. I'm taking the limo. I don't do SUVs. Lewandowski groaned. Sir, the limo isn't armored like the SUVs. Trump was already inside, motioning for his driver. "I've taken bigger risks. We're going full speed, tremendous speed. It's going to be the drive of the century." With no time to argue, Lewandowski and the others piled into the SUVs. Engines roared to life, headlights cutting through the darkness. Then, bang! A deafening crash rang out as the front gates buckled. The zombies outside had pressed against them with such force that the iron bars twisted and snapped. The horde surged forward. "Go! Go! Go!" Lewandowski yelled. The lead SUV peeled out, ramming straight into the undead, sending bodies flying. The limo followed close behind, its tires screeching as the driver weaved through the carnage. Trump sat in the back, watching with a smirk. "Look at that. We're breaking records right now. Nobody escapes like this." The convoy sped down the palm-lined road, smashing through small clusters of zombies. The billionaire's mansion was just 3 miles away. Then, disaster struck. From the darkness ahead, headlights flickered. A barricade had been set up in the road. Not by zombies, by people. Armed men stood behind the blockade, rifles at the ready. A makeshift sign was propped up. "Turn back or die." The driver of the lead SUV slammed the brakes. "Sir, we've got a problem." Trump leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Let me guess. People who don't want to make a deal?" Lewandowski grabbed the radio. "This is bad. If we stop, the horde will catch up. If we push through, they'll open fire." The leader of the roadblock stepped forward, a burly man with a scarred face. He held up a megaphone. "This road belongs to the Palm Beach Brotherhood. Turn around, or we put you in the ground." Trump scoffed. "Palm Beach Brotherhood? Sounds like a terrible club. Very unorganized. Terrible leadership, I can tell." Lewandowski clenched his jaw. "Sir, what do we do?" Trump smirked. "We negotiate." Before anyone could stop him, he grabbed the limo's PA system and pressed the button. "Listen up, fellas. You've got 2 choices. You can let us through, and we work together to survive. Or," he gestured to the approaching horde in the rearview mirror, "you can stay here and get eaten while we drive through anyway." The Brotherhood leader frowned, exchanging glances with his men. They weren't expecting negotiation. Then, one of the guards in the SUV shouted, "They're coming!" Trump's group turned. The undead had caught up. Dozens of them, sprinting now, their moans rising into a deafening crescendo. The Brotherhood hesitated. Trump leaned out of the limo window. "Tick-tock, boys. Deal or no deal?" The leader cursed under his breath. Then, he signaled his men. "Let them through." The barricade was shoved aside, just as the horde closed in. The convoy gunned it, roaring past the Brotherhood's makeshift camp. The zombies slammed into the armed men instead, screams erupting as gunfire rang out. Lewandowski let out a breath. That was way too close. Trump sat back, looking pleased. "See? Negotiation. The best." Ahead, the billionaire's estate loomed in the distance, its high walls standing strong against the moonlight. They had made it. For now. The convoy roared through the open gates of the billionaire's estate just as the last remnants of the Palm Beach Brotherhood were overwhelmed by the undead. The screams faded into the night as the heavy steel gates clanged shut behind them. For a moment, there was only silence. Trump stepped out of the limo, straightening his suit. "Well, that was incredible negotiating, folks. They gave us an opening, we took it, tremendous deal, really. Probably the best deal they've ever made." Lewandowski wiped sweat from his forehead as he got out of the SUV. "Sir, they're all dead." Trump shrugged. "Well, you know, not everyone is a winner." The mansion before them was a true fortress. A massive Mediterranean-style estate with reinforced gates, solar panels on the roof, and high-tech security features. It was easily twice the size of Mar-a-Lago. "This place," Trump said, looking around, is very nice. Almost as nice as my place. Maybe even the second best mansion in Florida. One of the guards moved ahead, gun raised. We should clear the inside first. We don't know if anyone's here. Lewandowski nodded. Agreed. Standard sweep, move in pairs, check every room. The group moved forward cautiously, weapons at the ready. The front doors were locked, but a guard shattered a side window and climbed in, unlocking the main entrance from the inside. The moment they stepped in, the grandeur of the place became apparent. Marble floors, chandeliers, a sweeping staircase. Everything screamed luxury, except for one thing. The smell. A foul, rotting stench filled the air. Something's dead in here, one of the guards muttered. Trump waved his hand in front of his face. Ugh. Disgusting. Whoever lived here clearly had terrible housekeeping. They moved deeper into the house, stepping over shattered glass and overturned furniture. It wasn't long before they found the source of the stench. A body. A man in an expensive suit, slumped in a chair in what appeared to be an office. His throat had been torn out, dried blood staining the desk. A pistol lay near his limp hand, and the words "Trust No One" had been smeared in blood across the wall. Well, Trump said, eyeing the corpse, that's not good branding. Lewandowski ignored him, scanning the room. Looks like he was the owner. One of the guards knelt beside the body. No bite marks on his hands. He wasn't fighting off a zombie, this was a setup. Before anyone could react, a loud clank echoed from the hallway. Someone, or something, was in the house. Guns up, Lewandowski whispered. The group moved in formation, sweeping toward the sound. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Then, a shadow moved. The guards raised their weapons. Don't shoot. A voice rang out, and a figure emerged from the darkness, hands raised in surrender. A woman, mid-30s, with sharp features and a no-nonsense expression. She was dressed in tactical gear, a rifle slung across her back. Who the hell are you? Lewandowski demanded. The woman eyed them warily. I could ask you the same thing. Trump stepped forward, giving her his signature smirk. I'm Donald J. Trump. Maybe you've heard of me. Built an empire, ran the country, still running the best survival operation in America. And you are. The woman's lips pressed into a thin line. Valeria Monroe. Former Secret Service. Lewandowski's eyes widened. Secret Service? You worked at the White House? She gave a curt nod. Served under 3 administrations. When everything fell apart, I made my way here. This mansion belonged to a tech billionaire, he thought he could ride out the apocalypse alone. She gestured toward the dead man in the office. Turns out, money doesn't buy survival skills. Trump nodded approvingly. See, that's the problem with billionaires. They don't know how to win when it really counts. Valeria's expression didn't change. And what about you? What's your plan? Trump grinned. Winning, obviously. This mansion is now under new management. We reinforce, we expand, and we make this place the best survival fortress in Florida. Maybe the world. Valeria folded her arms. I've been holding this place down on my own for weeks. I don't need you waltzing in here and claiming it. Trump's smile didn't falter. All right. Let's negotiate. You want to survive? You want a real team? Stick with me. I've built skyscrapers, I've built empires, I can build a fortress that actually lasts. Valeria studied him for a long moment. Then, finally, she sighed. All right. But if you get people killed with one of your big ideas, she tapped the rifle slung over her back. I will put a bullet in you myself. Trump smirked. Tough. I like that. Lewandowski exhaled, relieved. Okay, so we have an ally. Now let's lock this place down before more of those things show up. Valeria nodded. There's an armory in the basement. And the security system still works, we can monitor the perimeter. Trump clapped his hands. Now we're talking. This is going to be big, folks. The biggest comeback in zombie history. But as they secured the mansion, none of them saw the movement beyond the gates. In the distance, watching from the trees, was a lone survivor. A man with a deep scar across his face. One of the Palm Beach Brotherhood. And he wasn't alone. The mansion had transformed into a fortress overnight. Under Valeria's direction, Trump's group reinforced every entry point with furniture, steel panels, and whatever supplies they could find. The estate's security system, still operational thanks to backup generators, provided a full view of the surrounding perimeter. Trump stood in the control room, arms crossed, watching the monitors. This is leadership, folks. This is how you survive. Other people panic. But we build walls. The best walls. Lewandowski pointed to one of the screens. Sir, we've got a problem. Trump leaned in. Outside the gates, figures lurked in the shadows. Not zombies. People. Valeria cursed under her breath. Palm Beach Brotherhood. The scarred man at the front, the same one who had blocked their convoy, stepped into the moonlight. His cold eyes locked onto the cameras as he raised a megaphone. You ran like cowards, his voice crackled through the speakers. You left us to die. But you're not safe. This place? It's ours now. Trump scoffed. Ours? That's fake news. We liberated this place. Very smart takeover, really. Probably one of the greatest takeovers in post-apocalyptic history. Valeria ignored him. They're armed. This isn't just some scavenger gang. She tapped the screen, pointing out their weapons, assault rifles, Molotovs, even a few homemade explosives. Lewandowski tensed. They must have raided a National Guard post. The Brotherhood leader lifted his megaphone again. We're giving you 1 hour. Surrender, or we burn you out. Trump rolled his eyes. Burn us out? Listen, I do very well with negotiations. Very well. But this? This is a bad deal. Valeria turned to him. We can't fight them head-on. They've got the numbers. Trump smirked. Who said anything about a head-on fight? We outsmart them. Lewandowski frowned. Sir, what's the plan? Trump pointed to the security monitors. We bait them in. Give them what they think they want. Valeria narrowed her eyes. And what's that? Trump grinned. Me. 1 hour later. The front gates creaked open. Trump stood in the driveway, alone, arms raised in mock surrender. All right. You got me. Very aggressive negotiating tactics, I must say. But I've reconsidered. Let's make a deal. The Brotherhood leader smirked, stepping forward with a dozen armed men. Smart move, old man. Trump chuckled. Oh, I always make smart moves. The best moves. Behind him, the mansion was dark, lifeless. No movement. No sound. The Brotherhood leader motioned for his men to advance. Drop your weapons, get on your knees. Trump held up his hands. You want me on my knees? Look, pal, I never go down easy. The leader scowled. Funny. But you're dead either way. He turned to his men. Move in. The Brotherhood rushed forward, just as the mansion exploded with light and noise. Gunfire erupted from the windows. Spotlights flared on, blinding the intruders. Booby-trapped propane tanks detonated near the entrance, sending Brotherhood fighters flying. Trump grinned. Surprise. From the mansion's second floor, Valeria opened fire with a sniper rifle, picking off the Brotherhood's gunners. Lewandowski and the guards launched Molotovs, setting the surrounding brush ablaze, cutting off the Brotherhood's escape. The Brotherhood panicked. It's a trap. Trump grabbed a pistol from his suit pocket and fired. Of course it's a trap. Did you think I was just gonna give up? The Brotherhood scattered, some running for cover, others trying to break through the gate, only to find it had silently locked behind them. A few of them turned their weapons on Trump. Crack! A shot rang out. The Brotherhood leader staggered back, clutching his gut. He looked down in shock as blood spread across his shirt. Behind him, Valeria lowered her smoking rifle. Game over. The remaining Brotherhood fighters dropped their weapons, some trying to flee, only to be swarmed by the very thing they feared most. The zombies had arrived. The gunfire, the explosions, it had drawn the horde. Trump stepped back toward the mansion as the first wave of undead crashed into the stragglers. The Brotherhood's screams filled the night as they were torn apart. Lewandowski's voice came through the earpiece. "Sir, we need to move back inside." Trump took one last look at the carnage, then turned on his heel, heading toward the safety of the mansion. Well, folks, that's what we call a hostile takeover. The last of the Brotherhood was consumed, leaving only the living and the dead. As the mansion doors slammed shut, Valeria exhaled. "We won." Trump smirked. "Of course we won. We always win." But Valeria's face remained grim as she peered at the security monitors. "Yes," she said. "But at what cost?" The screen flickered, showing something beyond the trees. More figures. Not the Brotherhood. Not zombies. Something else. A new threat. And it was coming. The fires from the battle with the Palm Beach Brotherhood still smoldered outside the mansion's gates. The zombies had feasted on the last of the gang, but by sunrise, the undead had wandered off, leaving only scattered corpses and the stench of death. Inside the mansion's security room, Valeria studied the monitors. The camera feeds showed a disturbing sight, silhouettes moving through the distant tree line. Lewandowski rubbed his temples. More zombies? Valeria shook her head. No. They're too organized. Trump leaned forward, sipping from a golden chalice he had found in the mansion. So what, new neighbors? Maybe they want to do a merger. Valeria frowned. That's what I'm afraid of. On one of the screens, a tall figure stepped into view, standing just beyond the tree line. Dressed in dark combat armor, they were surrounded by similarly outfitted soldiers, all carrying military-grade weapons. The figure held something up. A white flag. Trump squinted. Okay, that's new. Usually, I'm the one making people surrender. Lewandowski tensed. It's a trick. It has to be. Valeria exhaled. Maybe. But we have to find out. Trump clapped his hands. All right. Let's see what these folks really want. At the gates. The mansion's heavy front gates groaned open as Trump, Valeria, and Lewandowski stepped out, flanked by armed guards. The leader of the approaching group stepped forward, a tall man, broad-shouldered, with piercing gray eyes and a military haircut. He wore black tactical armor, and an insignia on his chest displayed a wolf's head with a crown. He smiled. President Trump. An honor. Trump smirked. Well. You know, I am quite popular. But you? I don't recognize you. That means you're not very important. The man chuckled. I'd expect nothing less. He extended a gloved hand. My name is Commander Adrian Wolf. I represent the New Order. Valeria stiffened. New Order? Wolf nodded. A coalition of ex-military, special forces, and high-level strategists. We're not scavengers or raiders, we're rebuilders. Trump crossed his arms. You know, I like the sound of that. Very strong branding. But let's get to the point, what do you want? Wolf smiled. We've been watching. You're a proven leader. You've built an empire before, why not build another one? The New Order is restoring civilization, and we need men like you. Strong, ambitious. Trump stroked his chin. Go on. Valeria stepped forward. And if we say no? Wolf's smile never faded. Then you stay here. Isolated. Alone. Cut off from the resources and power we control. Trump scoffed. Buddy, let me tell you something, you never cut off Trump. That's a bad deal. Wolf smirked. Then make a better one. Join us. Help us rebuild. Together, we can bring order back to this broken world. Trump tilted his head. And if I join, I assume I'm in charge? Wolf's eyes darkened. You'd be part of something greater. But leadership? That belongs to our Supreme Chancellor. Valeria's face twisted in disgust. Chancellor? Who the hell crowned him? Wolf's smile thinned. History crowns the victors. Trump sighed. See, that is the problem. You don't let history decide, you make history. I make history. Tremendous history. Wolf's eyes flickered with amusement. Then make the right choice, Mr. President. Join us. Trump took a dramatic pause, then smiled. Tell you what, Wolf, I never rush a deal. Let me think about it. Wolf nodded, stepping back. Take your time. But don't take too long. He gestured to his men. We'll return tomorrow for your answer. As they disappeared into the forest, Trump turned to Valeria and Lewandowski. All right, folks. Big decision. What do we think? Valeria shook her head. They're bad news. That Supreme Chancellor nonsense? That's a dictatorship. Lewandowski hesitated. But sir, they do have resources. Food, weapons, manpower. Trump exhaled. Interesting dilemma. On one hand, tremendous opportunity. On the other, possible tyranny. He turned to Valeria. So, what's the alternative? Stay here forever? Valeria crossed her arms. We build our own power. Expand our reach. We don't need them. Trump grinned. Now that sounds very American. But before anyone could say more, a loud boom echoed through the air. The mansion shook. Smoke billowed from the back of the estate. A guard ran in, breathless. We're under attack. Lewandowski grabbed his rifle. Already? But they just... Valeria's eyes widened. It's not them. Trump adjusted his suit. Well, somebody clearly doesn't respect property rights. The group rushed back inside to check the security monitors. What they saw made even Trump's jaw tighten. Dozens of zombies. But these weren't the slow, shambling kind. They were faster. Stronger. Mutated. Some had grotesque muscle growths, others had reinforced, bone-plated arms. One had 3 heads. And they were charging the mansion. Trump turned to Valeria. So, small problem, how do we deal with super zombies? Valeria exhaled. We fight. Or we die. Trump smirked. Well, dying isn't exactly my style. He straightened his tie. So let's win this thing. The first of the mutants slammed into the gates, bending the reinforced steel. And the battle began. The ground shook as the first mutant zombie rammed the mansion's reinforced gates. The steel bent inward with a deafening groan. Behind it, a horde of enhanced undead surged forward, snarling, their grotesque mutations pulsing in the moonlight. Inside the security room, Trump straightened his tie, watching the monitors. All right, folks. We've got 2 problems. 1, super zombies. Very bad. 2, that New Order gang? They're coming back tomorrow. So, he clapped his hands. What's the best move? Valeria checked her rifle. Survive. Lewandowski loaded a grenade launcher. Or die trying. Trump smirked. Well, losing isn't exactly my style. At the gates. The first mutant, a hulking brute with bone-plated arms, smashed the metal doors again. The reinforced steel screamed under the pressure. 2 more hits, it's coming down. Valeria yelled. Trump turned to Lewandowski. Light him up. Lewandowski grinned and fired. Boom! A grenade exploded in the creature's chest, sending a cloud of smoke and gore into the air. But when the dust settled, the mutant was still standing. Its chest was torn open, black sludge oozing from the wound, but instead of falling, it let out a guttural roar and charged harder. Valeria cursed. They heal fast. Trump's eyes widened. Okay, not tremendous. More zombies swarmed, piling against the weakened gate, pushing with unnatural strength. Lewandowski fired again, boom, blasting a group of them back, but it wasn't enough. Valeria turned to Trump. We need bigger firepower. Trump grinned. Funny you should say that. He reached into a cabinet and pulled out a detonator. Valeria's eyes narrowed. What is that? Trump pressed the button. Kaboom! The entire front yard exploded. Mines hidden beneath the grass detonated in a fiery chain reaction, sending dirt, limbs, and black sludge into the air. The shockwave ripped through the horde, sending bodies flying. The mutants screeched in agony as fire engulfed them, their grotesque forms melting in the heat. Trump laughed. Now that's what I call draining the swamp. The force of the explosion sent the front gate crashing down, along with burning, flailing zombies. The mansion's defenders opened fire, picking off anything still moving. For a brief moment, it looked like they had won. Until a second wave of mutants burst from the treeline. These were worse. One had tentacle-like arms that lashed out like whips. Another was twice the size of the first brute, covered in rock-like skin. And then, a shriek pierced the air. A winged freak of nature swooped down from the sky, something that had once been human but now had massive bat-like wings and razor-sharp talons. Trump's smirk faded. Okay, nobody told me zombies could fly. Valeria gritted her teeth. We fall back, now. Inside the mansion, the group barricaded the main entrance, overturning tables, stacking furniture. The security shutters slammed shut. The mansion trembled as the brute slammed into the front. The flying creature clawed at the roof, shrieking. We can't hold forever. Lewandowski shouted. Valeria looked at Trump. We need to run. Trump frowned. Run? I don't run. She grabbed his shoulder. We can't win this fight. But we can survive it. Trump exhaled. All right. What's the exit strategy? Lewandowski pointed to a monitor. There's an underground escape tunnel beneath the wine cellar. Leads a few miles out. Trump grinned. Ah, yes. I knew buying this mansion was a tremendous idea. Valeria nodded. Let's move. The escape. The group rushed through the mansion as the zombies tore at the walls. The flying mutant smashed through a window, screeching, its talons barely missing Trump's head. Trump grabbed a gold-plated shotgun from the wall. Boom! He blasted the creature mid-air, sending it crashing into a chandelier, which collapsed on top of it. Trump adjusted his tie. You're fired. They sprinted into the wine cellar. Lewandowski pulled open a hidden door in the floor. This way. The group descended into the underground tunnel, sealing the hatch behind them. As they ran, the mansion above them collapsed, the mutants ripping it apart in a frenzy. Trump shook his head. Sad. Tragic. Beautiful home. Gone. Valeria smirked. We're alive, aren't we? Trump exhaled. Yeah. We live to fight another day. 1 hour later, the wilderness. They emerged from the tunnel into a dense forest. The night was eerily quiet. Valeria checked her rifle. We need to keep moving. The new order might still come looking. Lewandowski nodded. Where do we go? Trump smiled. We rebuild. Valeria raised an eyebrow. With what? Trump smirked. Oh, trust me. I always have a plan. He turned, staring into the distance. A city skyline loomed on the horizon, barely visible in the morning light. It was Washington, D.C. Trump grinned. Time to take America back. The end. Or the beginning.